Most of you know me as a heart-centered leader. I want to take you into a really high-pressure room that I was in where there were CEOs on two opposing sides. Very tense. I was doing a presentation. It's about 2 hour presentation. The presentation was going beautifully. I was very excited. We were going to get to a decision until there was this moment where a gentleman stood up and started yelling at me. Not a little bit yelling at me, screaming at me. Well, most of you don't know this about me. I don't like being yelled at. I go from 0 to 100 in 10 seconds. Because, I learned this later, and we'll talk about this in a moment about why I felt that way and how I reacted. But I reacted really with my amygdala brain going, yeah, you want to fight? I'm ready for a fight. I was in command mode. I went crazy. I started yelling back, and ultimately I threw him out of the room and continued the presentation. But I recognized at the end of the day that going into that command mode, I thought was the right thing to do at the time, to deal with that situation as effectively as I knew how back then. Now let's fast forward to a session I had with Leanne where she worked on the calibration of what happened in that room. Let me tell you what happened in that room. We reframed how I saw that. I saw yelling at me as disrespect. Where that came from, I don't know, but that's how I saw it. So I reacted immediately. My nervous system, I feel it in my chest as I'm telling you this story. I remember the feeling that I had, and I lost it in that moment. But now that we've reframed how I see it, I don't see it as disrespect anymore. In fact, that person was just asking for more information. He ultimately was just using me as a conduit for that. So now that I think about it that way, I would handle it so differently. It was a punch in the face for me to get that realization to say, oh my goodness, if I were in that room again, I would be going, hey, tell me more about why you feel that way. I understand why you're angry. What would happen to the room? The tension that was in there would have dissipated. This gentleman hopefully would have had a good conversation with me. We would have resolved it really nicely. So I didn't have to go into command mode. I would be calm because you feel it in your chest. I felt it in my chest. And I ask you this question. Has that ever happened to you? Because if it has, calibration is the secret sauce to be able to A, understand it, B, reframe it, and C, deal with it. And once you deal with it, boy, I'll tell you, the way I look at situations now, completely differently. And that was one session with my business partner. It was pretty good, by the way, on how to do this stuff. Hope that's helpful.